Well, welcome to the recording for game design. And you can see that game design week 8 is September 30th through October 4th. And as we look at game design, we're getting down to where we're wrapping up. We have 2 more weeks left in the course. So we have the audio unit, and as we move down, that's really the last unit because you have a course project. So really this unit is actually 2 weeks long. So the course project is going to be down here for next week's work. Anyway, remember you're required to submit at least one assignment on October 1st. That's Tuesday. So you could do the Class Connect write-up, you could do one of the quizzes, but you must get something submitted. It could be an older assignment. So please get some work submitted on August 1st. Please, please, please. So this unit is all about audio. And of course, you have a Class Connect write-up. Then you're going to look at recording sounds for your final game projects. You're going to want to start doing that. Sound effects quiz. You're going to complete the work on music for your final project, putting it all together unit. Then you're going to do the putting all together the music quiz. So a fairly short unit, but just to reiterate, you have all of this stuff for the audio unit, but then the course project. You need to go look at the course project because that's a big assignment. It's a couple hundred points, I think. Yeah, 200 points. So you have this week and next week to work on this. And I'll provide a separate recording that will talk about this whole project description. So we're going to jump right into the audio unit. And audio, of course, is all about sound. So now we're going to look at sound effects, music, and how we integrate those into games. So we're going to understand the importance of sound effects in games, understand how to get sound effects, differentiate between sound and music, understand the need for music in games, know the types of music in games, how to apply different effects for music and sound, and learn about the integration of sound into game engines, or how music and sound get integrated into games. As always, we don't always do all of this stuff, so make sure you go to the grade book. That's where you can find what you need to do for the class and how much everything is worth. The importance of sound. This is having you as kind of a warm-up to go do some research on sound, so you can take notes of sound effects, soundtracks in games. So do a search on sounds in games or sound effects in games. You might find some really interesting information. Okay, let's go on to the write-up. So the write-up for Section A, in games, what does audio reinforce? In the early days of gaming, what did FM sounds provide? What is the best format for music for commercial games? And what is a sound designer's job? So that's what we want to get out of Section A. So looking at Section A, this is from a famous movie called Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. So if I hit that, you can hear the sound, and it's not much as just a violin. See, just a violin screeching, but that was really a terrifying sound for this movie. I mean, it was really substantial as far as movies go. It really wasn't music, but it was just these sounds made by an instrument. So we're going to understand the importance of sound effects, explain how to acquire sound effects. So sound effects, sounds play a vital part in interaction with the environment. And what audio does, it has the ability to reinforce a player's physical sensations. So that's the answer to that write-up question. So audio reinforces your physical sensations. So when you're playing a game, and you're getting kind of really into the game, and then when the right sound comes up, your senses heighten and it really immerses you in the game more. So music and sound are essential parts of game interface. Even on menu buttons like this one, if we push it, we can see it do something, right? And you could hear a sound effect. So visual and audio can work together that way. And then early generations of games, they were limited in their sound effects. They just had a bunch of beeping noises. And FM, like FM radio, frequency modulation, synthesizers would do those. And what FM sound did in the early days is that they would provide approximate real-world sound and music instruments to provide outputs. So that's what they would provide in games, FM. Real-world sounds and musical instruments in the early days, FM. Then mod was more 4-track sound, so you can hear the difference between these. Here's the FM, so just a sound, right? And here's the mod. So over here are musical instrument waves that they use, so you can see the difference in those. But right up here, that's the answer to the one Class Connect write-up question. Now there are a couple of others. MIDI is musical instrument digital interface. This is where they have musical instruments actually connected to a sound device, and they record real musical instruments. So MIDI, so they use hardware and instruments, but they use a lot of CPU space, a lot of computer power. Now for commercial games, music on CDs, Redbook Audio, or commercial games on CD, Redbook Audio is the best storage format because the latest generation of computers and consoles support the Redbook Audio, but handhelds and internet games are usually MIDI music. But for commercial games on CDs, Redbook Audio is the best format for those now. Sound effects practice activities, so go through that. More about sound effects. So this talks about, like, the sound effects in the game are vital to give feedback and cues to the player, right? Audio cues can also warn a player about approaching enemy through footsteps, heavy breathing, sounds coming from behind a locked door. So those are 3 good examples of how audio cues can really add to a game, right? And a sound designer is a person who creates sound effects to be integrated into the game. So the sound designer is the one that watches the game and figures out the types of sounds that need to go in there. Now oftentimes they create large sounds like real explosions and the hum of machinery. They go and record those. Other sounds, like smaller sounds, lighter sounds, they can use Foley like you guys did in the last unit. Lastly, best sound recorders, though, best sound designers, they go out in the world and they record or capture natural sounds and they tweak them in the studio. So we're going to look at the write-up and see if I've covered all those answers. In game 1 is audio reinforced, we talked about that. FM sound provided in early days, talked about that. Best format for music for commercial games, talked about that. A sound designer's job, talked about that too. Alright. Here's a sound effects quiz, and all the quiz previews are listed in this one document like I've been doing. Section B. So section B, let's go to the write-up. Now we're talking about music as opposed to sound effects. So what do movies and games rely on music to do? Explain the difference between music and sound. Give 3 examples of what music can do for gamers in games. What software will you use to record and edit music and sound effects? So music can generally be defined as a set of frequencies that appeal to the senses. So it's music if we like it, it's sound if we don't. You know, like somebody scratching their fingernails on the chalkboard. That's or somebody hitting a violin string really hard. Some might call it music because it's an instrument, but really it's just a sound because it's probably something we don't like, right? So music is essential to any type of games, and music in games, they rely on music to take their audience into their surreal world. So music in games and movies, music takes people into the world. So they're getting out of their real life and getting into the world. So that's the answer to that Class Connect write-up question of what music does in movies and games. In this section, we're going to differentiate between sound effects and music, understand the need for music, know the types of music in games, and know how to apply sound effects. The difference between sound effects and music. So sound is essentially anything that we can hear. And of course there are some sounds we can't hear that only animals can hear and things like that. In game mechanics, music and sound along with the visuals give the gamer the total immersion in the game. So after there's the initial feel for the game, then the sound engineer has to create the right sounds for the game that go along with it. He uses the sound effects and music that really engages the gamer. Of course, sound effects and music, they vary according to the genre. So you've played different games and you hear different types of music in those different types of games, right? And sound effects, they give you cues through the game of what's going to happen. So you've all experienced that, but you maybe don't really think about it. Next time you play a game, think about the sounds and the effects that you hear, the music that you hear, and see how much it affects how you play. But the main difference between music and sound is the effect, is the duration. Music is heard throughout, while sound effects are just by a certain event. So keep those things in mind. Difference between music and sound, we just did that. Okay. We have 3 examples of what music can do for gamers and what software we use. Okay. So understanding the need for music. So movies such as High School Musical and Die Hard have plots that are connected to music. So there are sound tracks throughout. So a lot of them might play almost a full-blown song as kind of a sound music to accompany the movie and things like that. And as I said before, need for music in games is based on the genre. Now, game music can sometimes instruct people on what can happen. Music can heighten the thrill of action. So here are 3 examples. Music can heighten the thrill of action. Music can inform the player when there's danger around the corner. Or music can set a lighter tone for comedic or funny moments in a game. So those are 3 good examples of what music can do in games. Sometimes they take pre-recorded music. Sometimes they even get composers to actually write music specific for certain games, just like movies have done. Games cost millions of dollars to make games, so a lot of that money goes to doing the sound and the effects, the sound effects in games. And of course, to use different sound effects in game or soundtracks and other people's songs, you have to get people's permission. You can't just use somebody's stuff without their permission. In music analysis discussion, of course, we're not doing the discussions. Types of music. So you want to go through here. You can either listen to this, just hit start, or look at the copy of this script. This is going to talk about different types of music that are used in games and how it's used. Applying music in MMF and Multimedia Fusion 2. So in the Chocolate Break game, there are some ready-made sound effects and music in the game. Now you're going to create your own sound effects, and you're going to make your own sound effects and record and edit sound effects and music with Audacity. So go through this activity, and it'll show you how to edit and export audio files in Audacity. You'll need that for your final project. Go back to the write-up and see that we've answered everything. 3 examples of music, what music can do for gamers and games, we did that. What software will you use? We just looked at that. Page 8 here, now creating music for your final project. Your final project is due by October 11th, and you're going to need to have some music and sound effects in your games. So you'll need to work on this, begin to work on it now, just don't wait till the end of it. And I'll put a recording together of final projects, a final course project recording together that'll talk about all of this. You're going to be creating your own game. So the music quiz, so there's some things you need to know, and of course the quiz preview is right over here. There's the music quiz. Okay, section C. So we're almost finished with this. Section C, and we want to go look at the write-up, of course. In section C, explain what integration of sound and music is. Which game from Real Arcade did you like and why? So I'll explain what that means. So section C. Now we're familiar with creating sounds and applying sound effects. We're going to explore what integrating into game engines, or how audio goes into games. So we're going to know about integrating into game engines. So integration is a vital part of game design, just as writing music for a movie or a play is. If the music gets blown away when the game character starts talking, or if the music loop is not planned properly, then the game will not be any good. So integration is extremely important. So first thing, you have to organize all the files, and they really call all these files an asset or an important part of the game. So you put all those things together. And integration is really what it means is that the music changes according to the player's actions. So that's what integration into the game engine means with music and sound. So music changes according to what you're doing in the game. So if you're in a first-person shooter game like some of you play, if you're walking down a street, you have certain music, but then if you turn down an alley, the music changes. So that's what integration is the music changes according to the player's action. Now, platform rules. This, go ahead and read this, or you can listen to it here, or you can click on this to look at the script. This is going to talk about different gaming platforms and some of the rules that apply as far as sounds and music. Putting all together game analysis. What they want you to do here, because we're wrapping up this course and you're going to create your own game, they want you to go to Real Arcade and play 2 or 3 of these games, go through a few levels in each of those games, and think about all of this stuff that we learned in this class. So you'll do about 3 or 4 of those games and think about all this stuff, analyze each game in your mind about all those. Because that last Class Connect write-up question has you write about which of these games you liked and why, and you need to talk about some of these items. Putting it all together, we're not doing this discussion. This discussion I integrated into the Class Connect write-up. Course project, and I will put a recording together, but with the course project, you're going to make your own game. Click here for the project description, and I will of course go over that when I create this assignment lesson recording. This last main project is worth 200 points. So that's all we have for this week. So I'm going to take a look here, and this is the thing I just talked about. So you're doing those 3 or 4 games from Real Arcade. You're going to explain what you liked and why. And I want like 3 or 4 responses here. Don't just, I liked it because I got to score lots of points. No, give me 3 or 4 ideas about why you liked it based on some of the stuff you learned in this class. Okay, that's all I have for you for this. And I will, so you have a couple of quizzes, and you have actually 3 quizzes. You have the write-up, and then of course you're starting on your course project, and I'll create a second or an individual recording for that course project work. So I look forward to all of your work coming in. Go back up here to our work announcement. So here we are, that audio unit. So I look forward to your work coming in, and if you're behind this week, get some stuff made up. We only have about 10 days left in the class, and please turn in work on October 1st. Could be a quiz, could be an assignment, a write-up, but whatever it is, it needs to be turned in on October 1st. So that's all. Thanks, everyone. Bye.